If you bet on a cage fight before seeing Jeff Foxworthy, you might be a redneck.
You're listening to MMA Think Tank with Jay and Mike.
Welcome back, everybody. This week we're going to be discussing Fight Night 95 and 96. And Mike, you said that there was some news that just dropped today, and we'll be getting into that in News Corner a little later. But for now, it's been a couple of weeks. How have you been?
I've been pretty good. I'm going to have a vacation here. Actually, I'm on vacation technically right now. So I'm going to actually be looking up some fighters on Twitter, see if maybe we can get some more interviews rolling. And so, yeah, that's what part of my vacation is going to be about, one of those staycations, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I've been sick the past couple of days and just getting over that. So I'm here, though. So we're going to go through with this. And, yeah, let's talk Fight Night 96, man. Fight Night 96 was a decent card. We, of course, had some great fights. I guess we could start at the top and talk about Lineker and Dodson. Let me just start off here by saying that the fight was great. It was fantastic. But I think the wrong man won that fight. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, Jay, I agree halfway with you. I thought it was a great fight. I thought that Lineker won, but it could have went either way for me. Just a quick recap, it was pretty much all stand-up. Rounds 1 and 2 were pretty conservative. Then after about 10 seconds of rock'em sock'em robots in round 3, the bout really started to get great. Kind of a highlight in round 4, Lineker literally runs down Dodson for what seemed about a minute, just throwing punches, trying to, as Dodson would, evade him, run away, however you want to call it. And for about a minute, and then of course Dodson and Lineker went at it again, and then round 5, I thought for sure that Dodson had won that round. He's just cardio alone. He just is a cardio machine. But yeah, so that's kind of how it looked. A great fight overall. I guess for me, I gave it to Lineker, Jay, because he was pressing the fight, octagon control, while they both had some pretty good stand-up. It's true that Dodson may have landed more punches, but I don't know if it was enough more punches for me to give him the rounds, 3 of the rounds or 4 of the rounds over Dodson. That's kind of how I looked at it. But Jay, if they would have given it to Dodson, I wouldn't have blinked.
Yeah. I could see where you can say that he pressed the fight. He did in fact press the fight, but I think Dodson did enough of evading and counter-striking. That's just the way I saw it. Not a big robbery or anything like that, like some people are calling it, which is just stupid. I don't understand when people throw out that word robbery sometimes in fights like this where it was close. So anyway, I thought Dodson won.
Well, I agree that I don't think it was a robbery either, but I would like to see an immediate rematch. I think it was that close.
It was that good?
I don't call for immediate rematches very often, but I think this is one that I think you have to, because not just because it was controversial, but as you said, Lineker's face was getting touched up pretty bad, and really Dodson, just like your boy Mighty Mouse, he just looked like he just got out of the shower. I mean, like just a little water on his face. Kudos to Lineker though, man. The guy doesn't just have like the hands of stone, which is his nickname, is his chin. I mean, some of those kicks that Dodson would land. Remember, Dodson's one of those guys that could knock you out, and he took those punches like a champ, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, he really did. As far as Dodson goes, though, I don't know if it looked to you this way at all, but with him moving up to 135, did he look a little slower to you? Because he did to me, and it just by a little looked a little slower.
I don't think so. I don't think it looked a little slower to me. I thought he looked pretty much the same. Looked pretty good. I wonder maybe if it was because he was worried about the power that Lineker has, because not a lot of guys at 135 or 125 have a lot of power. But But you could be right, Jay. I mean, he could, it's 10 more pounds. It's a 5-round fight. Maybe he's conserving energy for 5 rounds, or he could have just got slower because of the weight class.
Yeah, I think it's the weight class. You can definitely see that extra 10 pounds on him for sure. Not in a bad way,
want to go
but,
back real quick and say the reason I wanted an immediate rematch for these guys is that Dodson was ranked number 10, and Lineker is ranked number 3. And you have guys that are, yes, they're in the top 10 together, but are still that wide of a gulf in the top 10. And number 10 got with and possibly beat number 3. I think I'd like to see that fight again. So that's why.
Yeah, no, I hear you. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next fight, Mike. Of course, our pal, Will Brooks. Here, I say pal. Yeah, I wish. Anyway, Will Brooks versus Alex Cowboy Oliveira. Now, Mike, poor Brooks. Tough break for this guy. Looked good in his first.
Literally, possibly.
Yeah. Looked good in his first outing for the UFC. Here, he was looking okay until something happened with his ribs or something. What happened there?
Yeah, so basically what happened is after round 1, he complained that he thought he said he popped his rib. I believe that was his exact words. But he, even though he got his rib busted at the end of round 1, I thought he won that round. He was still able to get some takedowns.
Yeah.
And the rib came into play up against the clinch in round 1 where Oliveira was throwing a bunch of knees and this landed, I guess, a really, really good one. But Brooks fought violently even in round 2. Jay, I gave him that round in a close round, and he just couldn't finish. He couldn't get to the cards in the third. You could see with his face grimacing. He got taken down by Brooks in the third. And by the way, this whole fight was really good. They both back and forth. But Brooks was able to basically cover up or put his knee over Brooks's hand on the mat, and so he couldn't defend himself, similar to the crucifix position, I guess. And he just started wailing on Brooks, and Herb Dean had to stop it.
Yeah.
He couldn't defend himself.
Yeah, I didn't like after the fight, Cowboy's antics after the fight.
Oh yeah.
What was going on there, man? Like, what was said to trigger him? Because he said that Brooks was saying something, or
yeah. So at the weigh-in. Brooks, excuse me, not Brooks, but Oliveira. And I'm not going to call Oliveira because of this. I know this might sound petty, but I'm not going to give him the Cowboy moniker. I don't think he's actually earned that, especially with the way he's acting here. I'm just going to call him Oliveira from now on. If I'm going to say Cowboy, it's going to be for Cowboy Cerrone, who's earned it. But Oliveira came in over 5 pounds overweight. And, Brooks was quite angry about that. Because then Brooks, what you have to do when people come in over a couple of pounds, you have to decide if you're going to take that fight or not, besides getting the 20% of the opponent's purse. So he took the fight, and I know that at the weigh-in, Brooks didn't look at him when they walked up for the face-off. He just turned around towards the crowd and looked forward, and then words were said, and I don't know what the words were, but there were some angry words, and I don't care what they were, to be quite honest with you. When you come in 5 pounds overweight, for whatever the reason, just take it. Just take it like you just take it and go fight. And so for him to be angry, him meaning Oliveira, that after winning, by the way, when you win, I've always heard, I'm not a fighter, I realize that, but I heard when you're in a fight game, or even when you're playing professional sports, it's called look at the scoreboard. A lot of people say, look at the scoreboard. And that's what you do when you win. So when someone's saying something, you look at the scoreboard. And that's what Oliveira should have done. He should have said, not even get yelled at Brooks on the ground in pain, who fought valiantly, by the way. But he decided to be all pissy about it, and it really angered me.
Yeah. And in this day and age with mixed martial arts today, we're seeing more and more positive, good sportsmanship going on, especially after a fight. Before the fight, words are said and everything, but after the fight, we usually see the guys usually hug it out, or be cool with each other. And here we just had a situation where, man, it's like he wanted the fight to keep going. You just won, dude. The guy has a hurt rib. He's laying there. He's obviously in pain, and you're going to press the issue on what was said the day before. Who cares what was said? You came in 5 pounds overweight. That, this is your job. Do it right.
I agree. And to me, when I wrote on Facebook, this is one of those fights that even though Oliveira, the victor, had a fantastic outing. I mean, look, it's something that I've talked about before, not on the stand-up, not on this podcast, but just to people in general, is that if someone gets a broken rib in a fight, it's not that it just happened out of nowhere. It's no magical act. The opponent gave him that broken rib. It was a great pinpoint strike. It landed perfectly, and it was all good on Oliveira to do that. He fought fantastically and destroyed his opponent and finished him in round 3. But now people are going to care more about how valiant Will Brooks looked, how much of a jerk that Oliveira was. So Oliveira's great fight is going to be not remembered because of how great or dominant he was, but because of being a sore loser.
Yeah. No, I hear you. All right, Mike. So what's next for Oliveira?
I don't know. Will Brooks wasn't ranked. He did beat, Ross Pearson, which was a great fight on short notice. But Oliveira, I think, has won a couple in a row now. I think it's going to depend on just what the UFC brass wants to do with him.
Well, you
can give him a top 10 guy if you want, but I'd probably just give him a regular, outside the top 10, maybe a top 15. I don't know.
Yeah, top 15 for sure, because even though Brooks wasn't ranked in the UFC, I think it's still a feather in Oliveira's cap for sure.
Yeah, former Bellator champ for sure.
Yep.
And Jay, I think that we still have look. Even though Oliveira, delivered that strike that broke his rib, and by the way, if you guys go to Will Brooks' Twitter, you'll see all the pictures, or just go to any of the sites. You'll see Will Brooks in the hospital bed. You'll see all the stuff he's doing before the operation and stuff. So he did get a broken rib, but to me, I think Will Brooks, this was, he doesn't go down, he doesn't go up. He kind of stays at the same level because even though these things happen, it rarely happens that you break a rib. So
yeah. All right, Mike. Well, hopefully he gets better soon and comes back and starts to destroy people. Who knows?
Yeah.
Will Brooks is a good guy, great fighter. Hope he gets better soon.
Yeah, Jay. There was one guy you want to talk about too, about on the main card before we get to the prelims. I got a couple guys on the prelims I want to talk about.
Yeah. So real fast here. So Louis Smoka, ranked number 9 coming into this fight, was fighting Brandon Moreno, which, not a ranked guy. He's coming in from tough. And watching that fight, Moreno he fought a great fight. And he won a fight of the night performance, by the way, for this fight. And so $50,000 extra for that boy. And I was just so impressed by not only his fight game, but after the fight, just the jubilation and the happiness on his face and him running around, going to Big John and saying, oh, like, I can't believe I did it, and he's all excited and all smiles. Even though I didn't speak his language or understand what he said, you could still read through all his emotions and understand exactly what he was saying, It was just beautiful.
Well, yeah, at the end, though, he said, and I'm sure he just memorized the lines, but I love you, Portland. You are good people. I can't wait to come back. Yeah. I thought that was great. Brandon Moreno, I've seen him on Tough right now. I forget what champion he is, but he's a flyweight champ of another organization. But look, a lot of these organizations that are fighting on Tough right now, they're not going to be able to beat like the top 10 guy in the UFC. And Smolka was number 9, like you said. And he's a big prospect out of Hawaii, and has looked fantastic lately. So I'll be excited as Brandon Moreno was as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm happy for the kid, and I just wanted to mention him here because good for him, man.
Yeah, and who knows what's going to happen with him from now on? He certainly is he in the top 10 now? Who knows?
Yeah.
So
you know what? That's something I wanted to touch on real quick. I know usually people will say in instances like this, well, Moreno wasn't ranked. Smoka's number 9. He beats Smoka. Well, that doesn't make him number 9. I call BS on that, Mike. I really think the guys should be ranked wherever they beat their opponent at. If it's number 9, they become number 9. And the reason why I say this is because if number 3 beats number 1, he's number 1, right? It's always that way. If somebody beats the champ, they are the champ. There is no doubt about it. So wherever anybody beats anybody, that's where they should be ranked. I don't like this. Oh, well, that's just one fight. Blah blah blah. No, if he definitively beat this guy, then he is now ranked number 9. That's how I see it.
Well, I'm kind of in the middle, man. I certainly agree with you when it comes to like top 5 guys and stuff like that, because those guys have paid their dues. They've gotten to the top level. Got a guy like Moreno that comes in like on short notice though, and beats the number 9 guy. Is he number 9 now or not? I'm not too sure, but it's all about putting in your quote unquote reps and something to that matter. So when you get to like the top 5, I'm certainly there with you. But it's kind of tough when you've got a guy who is one. Let's say Jose Aldo. That's not the best example, but I'm gonna use somebody like Jose Aldo who was on a run for a long time. And say he loses, and then to a guy who's ranked number 7. I don't know if I put him ranked number. I don't think I put that guy above Jose Aldo, because Jose Aldo's been on a huge streak and has had the championship and all that kind of stuff. But it's something I would have to really think about, Jay. But I certainly see your points on it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I just think that, in my opinion, Aldo should fall if that were to happen. It's just,
yeah, I think for the most part, I agree with you. It's
for the longest time I thought like you did, and I was thinking about this just last night, and I was like, you know what? No, that's not how they should be ranked, because you got guys out there that are definitively beating guys that are ranked. Well, then, darn it, they should be ranked. I mean, come on. Moreno just finished the number 9 guy. What more do you want? That's the way I'm seeing it,
Yeah, you could kind of look at it as he gobbles up the number 9 position because he just beat the number 9 position. But then what happens then in the top 10 is like, okay, well, this other guy is better than the guy who just beat the number 9 guy. So does he go above him now? It's kind of weird with the MMA math, because then if someone who's ranked number 14 has just beaten Moreno before that, is he now number 8?
Yeah, but it's all about styles make fights. So to me, it really doesn't matter, because the MMA math thing doesn't work.
That for me, that's why I'm not too sure. When it gets to top 5, sure. Outside top 5, not too sure.
Yeah. All right. We will agree to disagree there, and we'll go on to those fights you wanted to touch on real quick.
Yeah, just real quick. In the UFC Fight Night 96 prelims, my boy Nate Marquardt, he won, got a head kick KO in round 3, and he made me $125 as I was in Reno to see Jeff Foxworthy. And you know what? When you're in Rome, you do as the Romans do. So I threw down $100. And if you bet on a cage fight before seeing Jeff Foxworthy, you might be a redneck.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
And also, my man Curtis Razor Blades gets his first UFC win. He was 5-0 coming out of Legacy, and lost to Francis Ngannou in his first fight. Had a busted up eye, but came back in the second fight here, and got a knockout. He's now 6-1 with all by TKO KOs. So be on the lookout for Razor Blade still, and he's a heavyweight. So we need more heavyweights.
Yeah. No, I like the guy too. So yep, be on the lookout for that. So Mike, we're all done with Fight Night 96. Let's get into 95. Yep. Now, of course, Fight Night 95 had Chris Cyborg versus Lena Landsberg. Going into this fight, I think everybody knew what was going to happen here. Of course, Chris Cyborg demolishes Landsberg. There's not much more to say. I mean, we've got Chris Cyborg at 140 pounds coming into another fight with the UFC at a catch weight. I don't know. What more do you have to say here?
Just a couple things on the fight. I was kind of let down by Landsberg, not even barely doing much in the fight. I mean, she was, I believe, 6-1 or 6-2, and she had a bunch of knockouts. So I expected her at least throw a bunch more punches, but a lot of it was done in the clinch. A lot of the fight was in the clinch and then takedowns. But she got to round 2, which a lot of fighters don't get to round 2 with Cyborg. So I guess kudos to her, Jay. But when it comes to 140, like you're saying, I mean, it's now time to either have a 145 division or have her fight at 135.
Yeah, I agree completely. One or the other. But as far as Landsberg not landing enough, I think Landsberg, I think she was scared of the power of Cyborg. Who wouldn't be? I would be. As a man, yeah. I would be scared of Cyborg. She punches hard. You're talking Landsberg KOing people. Man, I think Cyborg would KO me.
Yeah, and if I was to grab her leg while she's KOing you, she's just gonna throw me with her leg and knock me conscious as well. But Landsberg was considered the elbow princess, and I realized this was her debut in the UFC. It wasn't like she's been in the game for a while, but no, not really many elbows. But it was just one of those things. Really, just another showcase fight for Cyborg,
Yeah.
and yeah, she's dominant. But let's see what she can do. The rumors I heard, Jay, I don't know if you heard these rumors, and this is not anything that's one of those rumors that may come true for sure, but is that Rousey is now thinking of coming back, and it's only going to be against Cyborg. And if she beats Cyborg, then she'll stick around. Both you and I, Jay, I know you were the first one to say it. Don't think she's coming back. It's been almost a year now because she last fought in November. I don't know. I don't know. I would, of course, love to see that fight. I personally don't really want to get into who's going to win that fight either way because happen.
Yeah.
But I just want to throw that rumor out there, see if you heard it.
Well,
see if people out there heard it.
Yeah, and as far as her coming back, like I said, way back when last year, I said if she's gone for more than a year, she's never coming back. She's got her deal going on now, and her acting thing and stuff, and it doesn't look like she's even ready. So anyway, let's move on from that rumor. I guess we can't say much more about this fight because, like you said it perfectly. If they don't have a 145 or, she doesn't join the 135 division, then stop with this 140 Cyborg fight. It's ridiculous. I don't want to see it anymore. I really don't, because it means nothing.
Yeah, it's if it's free, maybe I'll watch it. I guess.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be excited about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if they were to put this on a pay-per-view, even if it was just, on the main card somewhere, it won't excite me at all. It's just whatever. Cyborg's going to dominate some woman here. Okay.
Right.
All right, Mike. So let's go on to Renan Barão versus Philip Nover. Why don't you tell us about this fight?
Well, this fight, you went all 3 rounds. It was 29-28, 29-28, 30-27 for Barão. And the way I really looked at it was Barão was always just a step ahead of Nover. You could tell that through the whole fight. It's just that, look, Barão, is he back to championship status? Is he back to contender status? I don't know, probably not, but he's at least a little better than Philippe Nover. And Philippe Nover's, a decent guy. So it was a good fight for them to give Barão here in Brazil, because they're going to want to give guys fights in Brazil that they can win for the crowd. They don't do that as much anymore, Jay, I know, but they still do it sometimes. I think this is for sure one of those fights that was like that. So,
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree 100%. When you said he was a step above Nover in every way, you hit the nail on the head there. That's exactly what it was. Kind of what we thought. Nover wasn't going to win this fight. He had no chance. And not that he didn't have a chance. Let me back that up. But we just knew he was going to lose this fight. Renan Barão's the better man here. So it was kind of, it was foretold by the gods.
Yeah, he gets his first win now in the bantamweight. In his return to the bantamweight division. To the featherweight division. He's 1-1 in his return to the featherweight division. I'm sure they're going to give him another guy that is like Nover or maybe a little better. But I don't think until he wins another 1 or 2 will they give him a top 10, top 5 guy. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah. Anyway. No, I hear you 100%. The UFC's probably bringing him back slow, I guess. So
yeah,
it is what it is. So let's go ahead and move on here, Mike. Let's talk about Big Country versus Bigfoot. Now we had Silva and Roy Nelson, of course, in the octagon, and wow, what a freak show that was, huh?
Yeah, it sure was, man. It went 2 rounds, which I think a lot of us thought would go 1 round, but of course, heavyweights don't always knock out everybody in the first round, but it did happen in round 2. Nelson got the TKO after, man, both guys landed some bombs in this one. Both guys had good chins, but for a lot of the bombs. But look, it's something I wrote. I said on the podcast last time. Do the math. Both guys have power, but only one guy has the best chin in the division. The other guy has a pretty poor chin. So Bigfoot with a pretty poor chin finally fell. Then Nelson after the win goes over and kicks Big John McCarthy while he's checking on Bigfoot.
Yep.
Which I thought was really not a good thing to do, and I was very angry about that. Not just because I like Big John McCarthy, but we don't need that. And another reason is because, and Jay, let me know if you agree or disagree, but Nelson thought that it went on too long. That he did stop
Yeah.
punching him, but then Big John finally stopped, and I didn't think it was too long of a stoppage. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I didn't really think it was all that long either, but at the same time, when you're in the cage, see, I'm not a fighter, so lots of stuff is probably going through his head as he's throwing these bombs on Silva, but maybe in his mind he thought it was too long, and that really angered him. And I'm okay with that kind of anger where you're upset because you feel like you're hurting your opponent for no reason. Okay, I get that anger, but you don't kick the ref regardless. You don't do that. You could talk to him afterward and say, "Hey, John, I thought that went on a little too long. Can you please next time do a better job?" Say something like that. Don't kick the ref because, man, that's grounds for a butt whooping.
Yeah, I agree.
John could have turned around and it did something to him. I think,
I'm surprised.
Yeah,
but you stop what you're doing, by just letting it go like he did, and then like you said, instead of going over there and kicking him, let him know what you think in his ear, quite loudly if you want to. I think refs can be talked to. I don't think you should be able to cuss out a ref or say I'm gonna get your mom or whatever. But I think in the ring, especially Big John can take some yelling in his ear. He's been there before. Yeah. He's been there since UFC 2. But the big thing there was that not Big John McCarthy, Big Country and Bigfoot are friends, and they're pretty good friends. They met a couple of years ago on a movie set, and they got pretty close. And win or lose, they were going to go to Bigfoot's house and have a barbecue with his family. So part of that was, look, I don't want to be beating up my friend. It's like if you and I got in a fight for some reason and I knocked you out and I'm still punching you and I'm like, dude, stop the fight. I don't want to keep punching my best friend anymore. It's just stupid, But I'm not going to go over there and kick Big John McCarthy, after that.
Yeah. Anything else on this one?
Yeah, real quick. Dana White wants Nelson punished. He wants Big Country punished. I don't blame him. It's something that I'm sure he doesn't want to have on his watch. Especially when they had who was it? Paul Daly, who we'll talk about in the news corner. Remember, Paul Daly ended up punching a ref. No, excuse me, didn't punch a ref. He punched Josh Koscheck. But there's a couple people that have punched refs in the UFC, and they were out after that. And then one last thing also for Bigfoot. Bigfoot's manager thinks that he's going to get let go. He thinks Bigfoot's probably done with the UFC. And it doesn't surprise me. He's lost, I don't know, 6 of his last 8 or something like that. So it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. All right.
But the last fight on the main card, that was and the main card had some good names on it, worth a watch for sure. All decent. Of them. What's that?
Yeah, it was decent.
Yeah, Francisco Trinaldo versus Paul Felder. Trinaldo gets the win in round 3 by TKO, but it was kind of a doctor's stoppage. But hey, it's not like Trinaldo didn't put the big gaping hole into Felder's head.
Yeah.
Jay, what I came away with this fight was this fight showed me that what a well-rounded fighter can do against a top-notch fighter who just fights one-dimensional, and that's Felder. Yep. Felder he hasn't grown. I keep thinking he's going to grow. He's still a fantastic striker, but Trinaldo is just really good all the way around, and he used it and showed it.
Well, a fantastic striker in MMA isn't a great thing, if you're just one-dimensional anyway. If that's all you have, you're not going to go far in the UFC. It's not going to happen. And unfortunately for Felder, that's the way it's looking. I mean, he got sliced up here, literally. He got beat up, and it didn't look good. Man, I don't think that Felder, if he doesn't get better, Mike, and he keeps down this road of just being a striker, he's going to end up getting cut.
Yeah, what I think, too, is it reminds me kind of Uriah Hall. Not to the same extent, but he wins a couple, he loses a couple. We think he's going to get better. And like I said, I'm not sure if I said it on the podcast or I said it to you just in passing, that I was going to stop following Felder. Meaning, if his fights on the card, unless you wanted to talk about him, I wasn't going to put him on the show to talk about his fights or whatever.
Yeah.
But then he ended up, after losing 2, winning 2 or 3 in a row. So he got back in the good graces, I guess, of you and me. It's going to be interesting. So where he goes from here.
Definitely, man. We'll see what happens with Felder, but he's got to grow. That's bottom line. Mike, if we're all done here, let's go ahead and get into some news. Why don't you tell us about some news?
News Corner.
Yeah, we got a lot of news here. Some stuff we're going to talk about in depth. Some we're just kind of going to roll through. So the one thing we're going to start off with that we're going to roll through is Legacy Fighting Championships and RFA have merged to become Legacy Fighting Alliance. Those two, Legacy Fighting Championships and RFA, are two of the biggest regional promotions. And if you have Access TV like I do, they're shown quite a bit on Access TV. So I've gotten to know a lot of the fighters. Of course, guys like Sage Northcutt, guys like Derek Lewis have come from there. So they're going to try basically after they've merged to become the AAA or the NCAA of mixed martial arts in their own words. So I'm excited about that. Jim Miller is going to fill in now for the injured L.I. Quinta to fight Tico Alves at lightweight at UFC 205. Jay, it's a pretty quick turnaround for Jim Miller. What do you think about that?
Yeah, very quick. Hey, good for him, man. I'm glad he's got the fight.
Yeah, I agree. He's certainly a veteran that deserves to be on that card if he gets the chance. Another injury this week. Ryan Bader stepping in for the injured Alexander Gustafsson versus Lil Nog at Fight Night 100, which is going to be November 19th in Brazil. I was really looking forward to see Alexander Gustafsson fight Lil Nog. This is the third time they've put this fight together. First two times, Nog had to pull out due to injury. Now Gustafsson has. I see Ryan Bader running through Lil Nog. That's just my preliminary thought.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But yeah, well, that's a pretty good fight for a free card in Brazil, and one that I think that the American or the foreigner, I should say, is going to beat the Brazilian. Joey Beltran versus Alessio Sakara is now the main event for Bellator 167 in Italy. This is going to be Bellator's second trip to Italy, and with Sakara headlining. If you guys don't remember, Sakara was in the UFC for a while. Overall records 18-11 with 2 no contests. But he's a heavy hitter. He's got 12 KOs, TKOs, and two submissions. And Beltran the same. He's a UFC vet. Guys might remember him a little bit more. He's been more active in Bellator. 17-13, 1 no contest, but has that 12 KO TKOs. So that'll be a headbanger right there, man. Someone's not going to come out of that one without being on the canvas, I'm sure. Moving on from there, let's hit the WSOF. Heavyweight champ Blagoy Ivanov is set to defend at WSOF 35 on November 12th. That'll be against the winner of WSOF 33's fight between Sean Jordan and Ashley Gooch. If you guys don't remember Ivanov, especially if you don't follow WSOF, this guy's legit, man. He could be in the UFC easily as a heavyweight. He's 14-1 with no contest, 5 KOs, 6 submissions. I mean, the guy is really, really good. Nick Newell, also formerly of the WSOF, retired last year. He's got a movie coming out, autobiographical about his life, about his career. Jay, I know you know that he's the guy that has the amputation on his one arm, so he only fights kind of handicapped in a way. Are you excited for this movie?
I'm excited for mixed martial arts movies in general. I like them, the good ones anyway.
Right. Yeah, I like Nick Newell. I'm excited to see how this movie goes. But
now,
it looks like it's gonna be...
is this a biopic or is this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a biopic.
Then that's great. I'm down with it. Yeah.
And Nick Newell is consulting the whole way through. So people came to him about this movie. He didn't go out and try and say, "Hey, I'm going to make a story." So I'm excited about that. It is going to be independent release though, so I'm not sure if it'll be in the theater or direct to DVD or just downloadable. I'm not sure. But if you guys haven't seen Nick Newell, I recommend you going to YouTube and at least checking out.
I actually heard, Mike, it's going straight to VHS.
Okay, so we're taking a step back, even more so.
Oh, it might be Betamax. Yeah.
But go to YouTube and look up his XFC fights. I don't know if his World Series of Fighting fights are on there, but if you don't know what YouTube is, you probably still own a VCR. Then let's move on a little bit. Ross Pearson versus James Krause is going to be at UFC Fight Night 99 in Ireland on November 19th. Pearson's coming out that loss to Will Brooks. Krause, if you're not sure about him, he's 23-7 with 14 submissions and 6 KOs, so he's legit. Jay and I have known Krause, and probably a lot of you guys out there know James Krause as well. But I haven't seen him fight on the main card in a while, and I'm going to be happy to see him and Brooks, him and Pearson fighting. Jay, I think is going to be a fantastic fight.
Yeah, it really is. It's going to be a great one.
Another good one coming up. We've got Derek Brunson versus Robert Whitaker at UFC Fight Night 101. That's in November as well, November 26th. Whitaker's coming in 16-4 with 7 KOs and 5 submissions, and he's on a 5-fight win streak. Just beat Uriah Hall two fights ago, and then beat Rafael Natal. Derek Brunson, obviously, he's been on a tear as well. If you guys don't know Derek Brunson, well, you should know Whitaker also, but if you don't, I'm sure you have to know Derek Brunson, so I'm not going to run him down. But that fight should be good. I'm picking Brunson by knockout. Jay, you think it's Brunson or you think Whitaker?
You know what? With the way both of them's been looking, it could be anybody's fight, to be honest. I'll go Brunson though. I would pick Brunson in this one.
Yeah, because Whitaker is, I think, he's a top 5 or he's number 6 or 5 in the division, and Brunson's just now, getting in there. But I agree, man. I'm going with Brunson. Moving on, Bellator 163 on November 14th. The main card is set, and it's a pretty fine freaking card here, people. Phil Davis is finally fighting Liam McGeary for the light heavyweight title. If you guys forgot, McGeary hasn't fought in a while. If you guys don't watch Bellator, but you should, he's 11-0 with 5 KOs and 5 submissions. I mean, the guy's undefeated. He's finishing almost all his fights. Phil Davis, the UFC vet, has been nothing but amazing looking in Bellator. Jay, I'm going to go Davis here. I like McGeary as a fighter. I like him as a person. I think he's great for the sport. But I think Phil Davis is going to finally get his first top tier belt.
I hope so. I'm pulling for him too, but I think Liam McGeary he's a guy that's going to be hard to get through. So
yeah, he's legit, man. Would you put him in the UFC now, or do you think you'd give him more time before putting him in the UFC?
I think he's good enough. I think he's good enough to be in there. He can be in the top 10 mix easily. He's a big, strong guy, very tall, uses his length. The guy is well rounded. He's not just a striker. The guy's a great fighter, really is.
I agree, and he humbled Tito in his last fight, so I'm always thankful for that.
Who hasn't humbled Tito?
Yeah, exactly. If that's your path to get to the UFC, I hear you. Let's see here. Marlos Kunin, she's back. She's going to be fighting Talita Nogueira. This is going to be Kunin's first fight since the Dufresne upset.
Nogueira, huh? Now
Nogueira. I'm not sure if I'm related to
she's the sister. Yeah, she's a sister that she prepared the carrot that they fed to the bus. That was her. No, I don't know. They're not related. I doubt it.
Yeah, I think
it would have been promoted.
Yeah, I did some research, not a ton of research, but just read a couple articles. No one ever said anything, so that's my guess is they're not. I assume Nogueira is like Smith over there. But Nogueira is 6-0 with 4 submissions and 2 TKO, so she's undefeated and has finished all her opponents different ways. But she's making her Bellator debut against, the submission queen herself, Marlos Kunin, who I'm sure does not want to go out the way she did in her last fight.
Yeah.
So I'm picking Kunin here, but I'm excited to see another young lady come into the sport with good numbers and with a good pedigree. So I'm going to pick Kunin. Jay, who are you picking?
Well, we'll see as it gets closer. We'll pick this fight.
Brennan Ward is back, and he's going to fight Saad Awad. Awad's well-rounded finisher. He's got 8 KOs, TKOs, and 7 subs. Ward, this is going to be his first. He's always been a contender. Perennial contender, but he's going to be his first fight back since his Cyborg upset loss. So I think Brennan Ward's going to come in wanting to really show that he's back in the mix. But Saad Awad he's a great fighter. I mean, I'm not saying he's like a top 10 guy overall in all of MMA's, welterweight division, but he's a solid guy. So we'll certainly have a good scrap here coming in. But I'm going to go with Ward.
Yeah. With how Ward looked the last time, I don't know. Awad's a good guy, both on the feet and the ground. Who knows? He can catch him in a leg lock.
Yeah, exactly. And Awad's the only guy to beat Will Brooks. So, and the two Jay just talked about, there was some news that was just released today, and that was it's true. The two things that were released today was the finishing up of this main card. Paul Daly versus Derek Anderson, which is a fantastic fight, and Sergey Karatanov is finally going to get his first fight in Bellator against Javi Ayala. Paul Daly, he just lost to Douglas Lima, and the winner of that was going to fight Kreshkov for the title. So, Paul Daly's ready to get back in there, show who he is. And Derek Anderson, he was that guy that's kind of been a sleeper for a while, but if you've been watching Bellator, he's a true contender, man. He's 14-2 with 5 KO, TKOs, and 6 submissions. So he's a finisher for sure. I'm really looking forward to that fight. All these fights I'm looking forward to be honest with you. Yeah. Even the Sergey Karatanov fight, because Karatanov was one of the few heavyweight fighters left in free agency. And Bellator was able to pick him up. My guess, Jay, is because President Scott Coker knew him from Strikeforce when he ran Strikeforce. And just quick, for you guys who didn't watch Strikeforce, don't know much about Karatanov, he's 23-5 with 13 KO, TKOs, and 9 submissions, so he's legit there. Ayala, who I did not know, is 9-5 with 4 KO, TKOs, and 4 submissions. And he's 4-2 in Bellator, so he's did his thing in Bellator, and he's finishing almost all of his wins. So a pretty good fight there.
Yeah, I think this is probably the best card Bellator's ever put on. To be honest, I think it's their best card. Because most of their cards, they've been sold with freak show fights. Most of their big ones anyway. But this one here, you have solid fighters. You have good names. Solid fights. This card is their best.
Yeah, they've got a title fight as well with Davis and McGeary. So,
And all that for free, guys. I mean, well, that is if you have Spike.
Right. Yeah, and there's something else I was going to say on there, too, is yes, if you have Spike, you're going to watch it for free. But yeah, I mean,
online too. They put them on online the next day, right?
Yeah, they do. That's where a lot of times I get a lot of my fights for when on the Facebook when I'm doing the fight week preview and I do spotlights on the fighters. I go directly to their website on Bellator and I pull it from there. So
yeah.
Moving on to something we don't cover too often and probably won't be covering once all the Pride veterans are gone is Risen Crow Cop. He got out of retirement and out of his UFC contract, and he won the opening round of the open weight Grand Prix, and he will face Vanderlei Silva on December 29th. So that's going to be a battle of the old guys, but I'll still watch it. And that, of course, wasn't on television. That was a direct. Had to watch that online, and I didn't watch the whole card. I just watched the the guys I knew, and real quick, Crow Cop, he within like 2 minutes, he got the arm triangle and finished the guy. One other fight of note was an amazing KO by Crazy Horse, Charles Bennett. 7 seconds, and his post-fight speech was off the wall. So guys, please go out there, just type in a Crazy Horse Bennett KO Risen. And watch the KO and listen to the crazy speech after.
Didn't I bring him up to you not too long ago? Because I work with a guy who knows Crazy Horse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I brought him up to you before. Yeah. He actually knows him personally. And he asked me if I knew about him. I said, yeah, I've heard of Crazy Horse before. And then I was asking you about him. It was about a month ago. But, yeah, cool. He won.
Yeah, Crazy Horse, big in Pride, being King of the Cage. Just a really crazy dude, I guess where his name Crazy Horse comes from. But, yeah, he's got beef with Vanderlei Silva also. He says he knocked Vanderlei Silva out in the backstage back in a big Pride fight back in 2005 or 4. I'm not sure. So there's some crazy beef there. Yeah. But, Jay, something quickly I want to talk about before we move on. And we've passed halfway through the news, guys, but the real big stuff's coming up. Once all these old Pride guys go, I don't know if anybody's going to be watching Risen or One Championship. A lot of these foreign promotions. What do you think? I mean, after Crow Cop's gone,
I think
after Vanderlei's gone.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but there's still a big market in those countries, and they're going to see these fights, and they're paying to see these fights. So it's still going to be a thing over there, but it's, for us, yeah, it's not really a thing.
That's what I'm getting at. Are you going to have a lot of hardcore people talking about the champions over there?
No, not at all. I don't think so. Plus, not only that, there should be an asterisk by these people's names that fight overseas because, as you know, as most people know by now, when Pride was over there, steroid use was rampant. It was acceptable. And I believe the same is going for these other organizations as well.
Yeah, the commissions are not the same over there for sure.
So things are being used over there that they're okay with. And I'm fine with that. If it's okay, if they're okay with it, I'm fine with it. It doesn't,
right.
because
it's a level playing field.
Exactly.
You can all do it. Anything else on that, Jay?
No, not at all.
Okay. Here's some of the big stuff people coming in right now. Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. Michael Johnson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Carolina Kowalkiewicz. Miesha Tate versus Raquel Pennington. All three of those fights added to UFC 205 in New York in November 12th. Man, if the card wasn't already great, I mean, it was great last time we had our podcast, Jay, and we talked about those fights. But now we got Conor McGregor, Eddie Alvarez. Real quick, Jay, I'm going Eddie Alvarez. I'm going Eddie Alvarez by stoppage in round 2.
Yeah, I'm going for Eddie too. Not that I want to see Conor lose. I think this is a really a detriment to his career and to the UFC. I think that they should not be putting on this fight. He should be going back to 145 and defending his belt. The reason being is, okay, he just beat a guy that beat him initially. Now he's over to that hump. Now he's getting back to that. Not that he's all powerful and can't be beat, but at least he's bringing some of that mystery back to him. Okay, so can he now defend his belt and beat everybody? He should be able to, because he demolished Aldo in 13 seconds. But now he's going to fight a guy in Eddie Alvarez who's a great wrestler and a great striker. It's insane. It's insane.
Has a great chin, by the way.
Yeah, I don't see Conor knocking him out, and I see it just being all bad for Conor. Could be wrong. I'd love to be proved wrong here, but I think Alvarez has got his number.
I'm a big Eddie Alvarez fan. Have been for a while. I don't want to be proved wrong, but I'm sore a little bit about this fight. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm talking in terms of the UFC and the marketing and everything they've got with Conor and how he's pushing the sport forward.
Yeah.
Where Eddie Alvarez will never push the sport that much forward, as much as Conor has. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to see this guy lose, because it's opening up this sport that we love to so many more eyes. And this is just a dumb move by the UFC. I don't know
Jay,
why
that's
they're
what
allowing
I was going
it.
to say. You said exactly exactly, because that's why I'm sore about this fight. Why are you? It's like when they put two really good contenders together, and there's other fighters out there. Why are you doing that? And I know these guys aren't contenders; they're champs. But but it's even worse because people are watching the sport, and like you said, because of Conor McGregor. So but even so, I'm going to go with Eddie Alvarez on this. And you know what? Come on, guys. Really, McGregor is three fights now without defending his title. 3, which is just insane.
Yep.
And the only saving grace from this that makes some sense is that he's kind of owed, I guess, a lightweight title shot, because he was supposed to fight Javier Dos Anjos, and that's where it all went bad when Dos Anjos, why did you have to break your foot? Because once you broke your foot, all this craziness happened. So, but anyway, so maybe that's why they're giving him Alvarez, because he was supposed to fight Dos Anjos. But Michael Johnson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. If anybody's more angry, it's Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's undefeated.
Yep.
And come back from injury, and he beat a guy who's kind of a local guy. And I'm not saying that he is the most deserving. Maybe it's Ferguson possibly, but he certainly is more deserving than McGregor. As much as Michael Johnson looked really good in his last fight, I'm going Khabib Nurmagomedov in this fight, Jay. I'm going big by decision.
Yeah, me too. If Khabib looks as good as he did the last time he fought, which is I don't know when, it's been a while, right?
Well, no, he beat that local guy who had to fill in when Ferguson got hurt. And that was like 2 or 3, maybe 4 months ago. It was this year for sure.
Oh, that's right. But yeah, before that, he fought like a year or 2 years or something before. I don't even.
2 years.
It was ridiculous. Yeah. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, but that was a local guy. It wasn't anything big. But going back to what you said about Nurmagomedov and how he is more deserving of the, you know what? I don't think so, because the guy has taken long layoffs and he beat a local guy, when he did come back. I don't think he deserves a title shot right now. Now, if he
over
were to
Connor, over Connor,
no, I don't even.
That's what I was saying.
Well, man, yeah, I guess, but that doesn't say much.
Right. Okay.
Anybody in that division, then you could say it should be over Connor.
Well, because I said Ferguson.
Division.
You can say Ferguson as well.
Ferguson for sure.
Alvarez.
Yeah, Ferguson for sure over Connor.
Yeah.
But as far as this fight goes with Nurmagomedov, I think he's going to beat Johnson for sure.
Yeah, I think Johnson better be working on some uppercuts to catch Nurmagomedov coming in. And
protecting his chin. Nurmagomedov's got a crazy overhand.
Oh, there you go. Okay, bringing the knowledge there too, my friend. Jacek versus Carolina Kowalkiewicz. Man, Kowalkiewicz is 10-0. She's legit. She doesn't have a lot of finishes, but she is a great kickboxer, just like Joanna is. I'm gonna pick Joanna, like we've talked about before, Jay. Until Joanna Jacek loses, I'm just going to continue to pick her.
Of course. That's the way to go. That's the smart move. That's the smart bet. So if you go to Jeff Foxworthy around that time, bet on her. It's the smart bet. Even though I do like Kowalski. I like her. Oh,
yeah, for sure. And then Miesha Tate versus Raquel Pennington. That's the other fight that was added. I found that very interesting. Now, when I heard the fight originally, I was like,
hold on. I said Kowalski. It's Kowalkiewicz. What am I talking about? Kowalski. Where did that come from? Is that another Polish fighter?
Kowalski. That's got to be some sort of like TV last name, some friend or something.
I had to
get in there, Kowalski,
because I didn't want. I didn't want to leave it at Kowalski. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pennington, actually, she's won 3 in a row. So, the UFC rarely puts a winner versus a loser in their last fights together. But, obviously Miesha Tate it was just lost her title, so she's still up there. So having, Pennington coming in on a 3-fight win streak, fighting the former champ, I still wouldn't have made that fight probably, but at least it makes a little more sense. Still going Miesha Tate. I don't think Pennington has anything better in her bag of tricks or tool belt that Miesha Tate doesn't have.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going Tate here too. I think Tate beats her both on the feet and the ground.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Jay, just before you move on, what a UFC 205.
Oh, I know.
I believe you said best fight card ever you texted me.
Yeah. That's the best fight card I think I've seen in the UFC by far. There's so many stars here, but not only that, even the guys that aren't really stars yet, they're great fighters. This card is just stacked.
Yeah, just a really quick rundown from at least from my memory, and Jay, jump in here if I forget something. The other title fight on there too is Wonderboy Thompson versus Tyron Woodley, and we've got Rashad Evans versus Tim Kennedy, Cowboy Cerrone versus he's fighting Calvin Gastelum. I mean, there's so many great fights that I'm certainly looking forward to. Speaking of title fights that didn't go her way, Claudia Gadelha, she's fighting Courtney Casey at UFC Fight Night 100. Obviously, Gadelha, fantastic. Only lost to Jacek in her 2 fights, the 2 losses. Courtney Casey, I've seen her fight, Jay. I like her. I think she's a good fighter. I don't know if she's quite up to this level yet, but hey, they're going to have her fight anyway. Casey's 6-3. She got 3 KOs and 3 submissions. So she's a finisher when she gets the win, and she has 2 wins in a row. So it kind of reminds me of what Miesha Tate is fighting with Pennington. But I'm going to go with Gadelha again.
Yeah, me too. Gadelha is going to win this fight.
Yeah. Czech Congo re-signs with Bellator for quote-unquote several more fights.
By the way, before you move on with this Czech Congo, when I first read your email, when you sent it to me, what you wanted to talk about in the news, and it said Czech Congo, I read it as Czech Congo resigns. And I was like, oh, that good for him. He's retiring now. Not so.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I put the dash in there.
Yeah.
I agree with you, man. Several more fights. I don't know if I want to see several more fights from the Congo I've been watching in the last 4 or 5 fights. But we've talked about how heavyweight division is scarce, man, with stars and names, and he's got a good chance of getting their vacant belt that's going to go up sometime early next month, especially with his win rate lately. Even so, with that, Jay, do you care about watching Congo fight?
Not the Congo as of late, no.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, let's go ahead and move on then. But UFC signs former Bellator heavyweight champ Alexander Volkov. See, this is a signing for someone who has dealt with Bellator before. Volkov is 26-6 with 18 KO TKOs and 3 submissions. He's a really big finisher. Defended the M1 title before signing with the UFC. He actually, like I said earlier, he's a former Bellator champ. The guy is very well-rounded, very good guy. So, I mean, this is a guy you want to pick up for your division, and the UFC picked him up, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Is he a top 10 guy right now in the heavyweight division? I don't know. He just fought an M1. If you guys don't know M1, it's a Russian promotion. So, I don't know if he's top 10 yet, but I think in a couple of fights he will be for sure.
Yeah. Well, his name, he sounds like something off of like an old Nintendo wrestling game or something. Alexander Volkov.
Yeah, it sounds like Zangief's half brother or something.
Yeah.
And then the last thing for the news guys is Inside MMA ended on Friday after almost 10 years on the air with 433 episodes. I've seen most of them, not all of them, but most of them. That was, if you guys ever did watch that, it was on Access TV, formerly known as HDNet. It was the first really big TV show that covered all of MMA before the internet sites really got taken over with a lot of money from other companies and stuff like that. What I'm trying to say here is that you could go on the internet and find things out, but if you really want to see great interviews, you want to hear some really good discussion, Access TV's Inside MMA was really good for that. But over the years, of course, with internet sites getting better and money coming into those sites, it just wasn't needed as much anymore. But Boss Rutan and Ron Kruk and and Kenny Rice, who were the big three for most of it, did a fine job with their interviews and their discussions. Boss Rutan, obviously UFC Hall of Famer, fantastic guy. And then at the end, they had Mauro Ranallo come in for the last 5 or 6 episodes because Kenny Rice did retire. Real quick, I want to just give a couple of stories of meeting Boss Rutan and Ron Kruk. The UFC fan convention too. Christy and I were walking around, and I saw this guy in a hoodie, and the hood was up and it was really low, but I could tell from the jawline it was Boss Rutan because he was supposed to be there with Ron Kruk at a booth, and I tapped him on his shoulder and I say, "Hey, boss, is it cool, man? Do you want to get a picture real quick?" He goes, "Oh man, I didn't know you would know who I was. People know who I was. People are gonna start crowding around." I was like, "Well, just take off, boss. If you need to, man. It's cool. Just shaking your hand was enough." He said, "No, go ahead and take a picture." And so Christy started taking a picture, and it wasn't working. The camera wasn't working. And she's like, he was like, "Are you almost done?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're almost done," like that. And then she finally got it off, and he shook my hand again and ran off. And it was a really cool experience. And then as I walked by him later on, when he was actually at the desk with a long line, I waved to him and he winked at me, which I thought was really cool. And I've met Ron Kruk a couple times. Ron Kruk was the guy who did most of the interviews for the show. I actually have a couple of pictures of him interviewing me. And for someone who would love to do this type of stuff professionally, I think the guy did a really good job. So good on Ron Kruk. And good on Boss Rutan. For Ron Kruk, though, it's pretty funny. He's not very popular, obviously, compared to Boss Rutan. But so he thought it was awesome that I wanted to talk to him and have pictures with him. So
yeah, I remember seeing Ron Kruk on HDNet before he was ever on doing anything with mixed martial arts. He was on other.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was on other shows on HDNet before that. I can't remember what they were, but I remember his name and his face and everything. And then all of a sudden, one day he was on MMA. What is it called? The show you're talking about.
Inside MMA.
Inside MMA. There you go. Anyway, yeah, that's a cool story, Mike. I'm glad you brought that up about Boss and Ron Kruk. And yeah, that's a show that it'll be missed because, like you said, we have internet sites and stuff, but that show, it would show a lot of regional promotions as well. It would show small organizations like Knockout of the Week or whatever, and it was cool to watch. So yeah, it'll be missed
for sure.
All right, Mike, let's go ahead and get into some picks, man. Let's go ahead and pick some fights.
We pick 'em.
Let's start off with WSOF 33. And, of course, that's on the 7th of October. Justin Gaethje versus Ozzy Dugalubuga. I can't say his name. What is his name?
It's Ozzy Dugulubgov. Dugulubgov. That's how you say it.
I can't even do it. Anyway, go ahead.
It doesn't matter, Jay, because he's not going to remember his name when Justin Gaethje knocks him out.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I'm not disrespecting this fighter or his name. I just can't really say it. But as far as Justin Gaethje knocking him out, that's probably going to happen.
Yeah, this is going to be on Friday night on NBC Sports Network or NBC Sports Channel. I think it's Sports Network. But anyway, it's up there with your ESPNs and Fox Sports 1. So if you guys have it, certainly take a look at this. This fight, when Jay talked about how Bellator had their best fight coming up at Bellator 163, this is something that I'm so excited about for the WSOF. This fight card and some of the fights we're going to roll through quickly, but it's just a fantastic card. And yeah, I mean, Gaethje, if you don't know him, he's undefeated, 16-0 with 13 KO TKOs and 1 submission. The guy's 9-0 in the WSOF in 5 defenses. Dubuglov, he's 8-2 with 4 KO TKOs, 2 submissions. He's never been KO'd, so throw that into the mix.
Well,
that's kind of interesting.
Talk about a guy who deserves to be in the UFC now, and that's Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, for sure. I hope it happens.
Yeah, I don't know how long WSOF is going to be around, to be honest. I mean, this is a great card, but, I mean, let's be honest, there hasn't been great cards for the WSOF in quite some time.
Well, they put out some great cards, but then in between them, it's not as good. I know what you're saying, but this is the first time we've had 6 fights on a main card. Usually they roll the four fight card out, kind of like Bellator does.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is kind of going to be one of their last hurrahs, like you're thinking, or if it's just going to be a retooling of everything, because they've been. I would say that WSOF has looked better from the point they're at now. They look better than Bellator did. But Bellator was able to, to continue to go through, and Bellator has been around now for, gosh, what is it, 2016 now? So 6 years, whereas WSOF just started in 2012. So we'll certainly see. So the lightweight title fight here, still going Gaethje, but it could be a better fight than we think.
Well, I hope it is.
Yeah, David Branch versus Vinny Magalhaes. That's going to be at 205. At basically David Branch, he has the middleweight and light heavyweight belt, but he's going to leave the middleweight belt at home and defend the 205 belt. Branch, former UFC guy. And guys out there, if you guys watch, know some of these names, some of the people listening, they only watch the UFC, so I want to give them just a heads up. Branch is 18-3 with 5 KO TKOs, 5 submissions, so he's a big finisher. He's 8-0 with two middleweight defenses as well, and has been there since World Series of Fighting 1. Was a UFC veteran as well, and who's fighting. Magalhaes is a UFC veteran as well. 14-7, won no contest, but he's really coming to his own now. He's actually won 2 in a row, and on a 4-fight win streak, and he's gotten a lot better. He's not just the BJJ wizard that learning the sport. Now he actually knows what's going on. Having said that, Jay, David Branch has just looked fantastic since he's left the UFC. Vinny has looked good. He's looked great, but not as good. I just see Branch getting him the better of him on the feet, and if it goes to the ground,
I agree.
Magalhaes has maybe like a little bit of an edge, but not much.
Yeah, I agree. David Branch, I think he wins this fight, and he might win by TKO.
Yeah.
Could be second round. So
calling rounds. I hear you, man. I'm going to go the 3rd round because Vinny's kind of a tough guy, but man, you're right though. Branch is a stud. Gaethje, did you call a round? Because I know I didn't. I'm going to go 2nd round with Gaethje.
Yeah, that's a safe bet. I'd go 2nd round too. It could even be late 1st with Gaethje.
Yeah,
Who
for
knows?
sure. Next up, we got Jason High versus João Zeferino. High is 20-5 with 8 submissions, 5 KO TKOs. He's 2-0 in the WSOF. He was that big lightweight they got at free agency that was going to vie for the title, and he's doing his work to do that, having won his last 2 in a row. Zeferino's 20-8 with 15 submissions and 2 KO TKOs. He's never been subbed. That's how good of a BJJ savant that guy is. He's 2-2 though in the WSOF, but he has he did lose his last 2 after losing the lightweight tournament, and then he actually fought John Fitch in the welterweight title because Jake Shields had to fall out. They had to get a short notice guy, and Zeferino went in there, but Fitch got the better of him. So it's kind of tough to put too much shade on Zeferino. He's a great fighter. So this is going to be a good fight, real BJJ style versus Jason High, who is a great striker but still very well-rounded. I'm going Jason High here. He just has run through the WSOF and has just finished guys, both TKOs and I don't know, Jay. I'm just rambling here. I'm so excited for this fight. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go High here too. Although Zeferino, didn't he just win his last fight? It was just a couple of months back, wasn't it?
No, he lost his last 2. They were against Fitch and
That's right.
He lost to Brian Foster. But then before that, he had won his first 2.
No. Okay, that's where I messed up here. I thought that I remember him losing to Fitch, and was that his very last fight, Fitch?
That was his that's Fitch's last fight.
Okay.
He's going to take on Shields again.
Yeah, I'm mistaken Zeferino with somebody else then. Then it's a no-brainer to go with High. It really is.
Yeah. Moving on, quickly here. John Howard versus Abu Bakar Nurmagomedov. Howard is 24-12. But look, man, that record may seem pedestrian, but he's got 9 KO TKOs and 6 submissions. So, that's showing you something there for the UFC vet. He's 1-0 in the UFC. 1-0 in the WSOF. Nurmagomedov is 12-1 with 7 KO TKOs and 3 submissions and 3-0 in the WSOF. This is kind of a tougher one for me to pick, Jay. I would go with the name here because John Howard's been around everywhere. But this Nurmagomedov guy, not because he's got the same last name as Khabib, he looks really good in some of the things I've seen, but there's not a lot of tape on him because he hasn't been on a lot of the main cards, which is something that the WSOF has a problem with, not having enough cards out there. But I'm gonna still go with Howard because I don't have enough tape to see on Nurmagomedov. Doomsday Howard is still looking good.
Wasn't he just in the UFC a few months ago? Doomsday.
Yeah, he was. His last
2
fights before signing with the WSOF was in the UFC, and he lost both of them.
Yeah.
So he went out on free agency. Pretty sure they cut him. And with the WSOF.
I'm going to go with Nurmagomedov on this one.
Okay.
I think with his record, I don't know him, well at all here, but I'm going by record and age, and I just think that Nurmagomedov might get this done.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. I was on the fence on that. And this is something why I'm telling people that if you get a chance to watch this card, you're going to see some fighters here that and some fighters that could end up becoming really big in these divisions and become stars. Continuing down there, we got 2 other fights left. Brian Foster versus Luis Firmino. Foster's 25-9, and listen to this: 12 KO TKOs and 12 submissions. I mean, wow. The guy has got 25 wins and has finished 24 of them, split down the middle. The guy is as well-rounded as it gets. But he is 3-3 in the WSOF because he lost to Gaethje after winning the 155-pound tournament, but still a force to be reckoned with. Firmino is 19-6 with 7 submissions and 1 KO. He's 3-0 and in WSOF, but if you count the fights before that, he's on a 6-fight win streak. So we've got a really good fight here with a submission guy versus a kind of a well-rounded guy.
Brian Foster.
Yeah, I was on the fence on this one for a long time, but I think Foster's going to bounce back from this. He rarely loses 2 in a row, if he's ever lost 2 in a row, and he just looks so good in the tournament. And you don't beat Gaethje. I mean, he's undefeated, so I can't hate him for that. And last but not least, Sean Jordan is going to be fighting Ashley Gooch, and it's going to be a heavyweight title eliminator. Whoever we talked about it in the news, whoever wins this fight is going to fight Blagoy Ivanov. Jordan's a UFC vet, obviously. If you guys remember that guy's name, he's 18-7, but he's got 14 KOs and 3 submissions. So, he finishes every one of his wins but one. And Gooch is a King of the Cage veteran, 10-4. Not as good record-wise, but he's still got that finishing touch. He's got the 7 KO TKOs and 2 submissions. Both are making their WSF debut. I'd like to lean towards Jordan because of his name, because I've seen him in the UFC. But I don't know. I might go with Gooch because this guy just seems more raw. He just seems more. Sometimes raw is better than having it all together. So I'm gonna throw out just underdog pick and go with Gooch. Say he gets the knockout.
Yeah. I'm going with Jordan because his name reminds me of Jordan Knight from New Kids on the Block. No,
I like it.
No, I'm going with Jordan here.
Yeah, it's a solid pick for sure. You'll see, man. If he comes down to the WSOF and can't win after being in the UFC, that's not going to be very good for his career. But we shall see. So, guys, try and take a look at that card if you want. NBC Sportsnet on Friday. That's WSOF 33. Now, moving into the big guys. UFC 204, that's going to be the next day. That's a pay-per-view. Michael Bisping versus Dan Henderson 2, and Vitor Belfort versus Gegard Mousasi. Those are the ones we're going to talk about, Jay. All I'll say is the first fight was UFC 100 7 years ago, and now we've got the sequel today for Bisping and Henderson. Who do you pick?
Get out your Hendo shirts, baby, because the H-bomb is going to come back.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Because I agree, bro.
Yes, the H-bomb. Yes, it's going to be hard to knock down the old man. And if he does get knocked down, he gets right back up. That's how Hendo works. So get your Hendo shirts out.
I agree, man. Look, I realize that Bisping knocked out Rockhold, but that rarely happens. Bisping doesn't have a lot of power in his hands. And as we've seen in his last few fights, at least, really his whole career, but mostly his last few fights, Henderson can take a butt whooping.
Well, that knockout by Bisping to Rockhold was a fluke. Fluke. That's one of those that wouldn't happen again. Put it to you that way. It was just a magical thing that happened for Bisping that night. That's it. It was a fairy tale for him. That's it.
And Dan Henderson, he was getting pieced together with from Hector Lombard and stayed in it, and he's been knocked around by Shogun Rua, and he comes back and wins those fights. And I just think with 5 rounds, I think that Henderson has a really good chance of landing the H-bomb. So we're simpatico, man. We agree. The only thing that could throw a wrench into our pick, I think, unless you've thought of this, is if Michael Bisping decides not to stand with him, decides to kind of wrestle with him, try to take him down.
And you know how many boos would be ringing out through that, that venue? It'd be crazy.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to see that between these two guys.
And I don't think he's going to do it, but it's just you never know.
You never know. Bisping could be that a-hole. You know how Bisping is sometimes.
Well, I'm a Bisping fan as well. Not a huge fan, but I'm a big Bisping fan. So I thought it was amazing when he got the storybook ending and got the belt and all stuff like that. But this will be almost another true storybook ending if Henderson can then beat Bisping, because he'll finally have his first UFC belt. And
especially when he's not even ranked, like he's not even top 10.
Yeah, coming in 3 wins and 6 losses in his last 9, or whatever the stat is. I mean, it's
insane. But it would be crazy.
Yeah. Let's see. The other fight we're talking about is Vitor Belfort versus Gegard Mousasi. Both former champs. My quick take on it, and of course we'll wrap about it, is Belfort's on the way down. Mousasi's still on the way up. Jay, what do you think? Yeah,
I think Mousasi wins this fight, and he wins it sort of easy. I think he's going to get the win. Probably. I think he finishes this fight. I don't know how soon. Maybe late second, early third, but I think he finishes Vitor.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the
submission.
Third. We're going to go with the third round because Mousasi's really good at setting traps for people, taking his time, and finishing them the way he thinks he can get it done. So second or third, but I'll put my money for the third. The Bisping though, we called knockout, but we didn't call a round, man. For me, it's tough, but I'm gonna go fourth round, somewhere in the championship round. So I'll go fourth.
Really, that late? I think it's
Well,
earlier. I think probably even second.
yeah,
I
I
think
won't go
Dan could get it
fifth
done.
because Henderson he's 46 years old.
He's 46 years old, but he's got power in his hands like Stipe.
No, but that's why
It's
I
crazy.
bring it up, Jay. I bring that up because that's why I don't go that's why I don't go the fifth round. He's gonna be tired by then.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
so
That's
he'll
why I
still have
said
the power.
it's going to
But
be early.
that's why I go fourth round.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm going as early as second.
Gotcha.
So.
Moving on to the final fight card we'll cover. The week after that, on the 15th, you better have Fight Pass, people, or you won't see it unless you're going to be trying to fight online somewhere else. Fight Night 95 is going to have BJ Penn versus Ricardo Lamas, Derek Lewis versus Marcin Tybura, and Smiling Sam Alvey versus Alex Nicholson. Jay, Penn's return has been pushed back for almost a year. It's finally here.
I'm going
training at
Lamas.
Jackson Winklejohn. Let's get it done. Let's see what it looks like, huh?
Yeah, I'm going Lamas.
Yeah?
Yeah, as much as I love BJ Penn, the guy was he was the guy for me in the UFC, back in the day. Loved watching him fight, and then when he started to decline, it was you could see the writing on the wall, and it was very sad. It was a sad time for me and a lot of other fans of his. We wanted to see him retire at one point, and he did. And now that he's coming back, it's kind of scary. As a big fan, I'm like, dude, you've already shown us enough. There's no reason to come back. Now, let me also say, though, if he does come back and beat Lamas and beat him handily, and he shows that he's improved for some odd reason, by some miracle, then great. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to.
That's why I brought up training with Jackson Winklejohn. Is that the key?
Yeah, I know, and I love the Jackson gym. I love what they do with their fighters. They're a proven gym. If they can't do it, nobody can with him. Then BJ's got to go. If Lamas beats him, it's over. He should go out to pasture again.
Well, real quick, Lamas, he just lost to Holloway, he's also lost to Chad Mendes and Jose Aldo in the UFC. So he only loses to the best. If BJ Penn was, this is 2010, and BJ Penn was coming up after, having that ride at lightweight that he had, I would say that BJ Penn destroys Lamas in coming up going down a weight class. Sorry, guys. BJ Penn always fights at 170 when he comes out, usually when he comes out of 155. So forgive me there. So if he was to drop down to 145, I think he would destroy Lamas then. But I'm with you, my man. I think Lamas is going to win this by decision. If there's a stoppage, it'll be a ref stoppage, basically like a TKO where, because rarely I don't think he's ever been submitted.
No. I think what gets him is ref stoppages. If he's been stopped, it's been TKOs or something like that. Because I don't think he's been knocked out cold, and I don't think he's been submitted.
Exactly. That's going to bring up is that it's always him taking too much punishment. Yep. So whether it's George St. Pierre on top or Matt Hughes on top or really
or Diaz demolishing him.
Well, that's another guy on the feet. I was going to bring up Frankie Edgar as well on the feet. So I'm excited to see that, my man. You talked about how a lot of BJ Penn fans were sad when he retired, I was never really a big fan, but me, man, I love the sport. I don't want these guys to retire until they really have to, because I love them as fighters and watching them. And once these great fighters go, you can't get them back. And I'm living that. I almost said I'm living that life right now. It sounds stupid, but you see, to see Benson Henderson now, almost Faber almost going. Yeah. I already did my diligence, Matt Hughes and Randy Couture.
I texted you just a few weeks ago, and I was like, all our favorite fighters are near retirement soon. Like they're going away, and it sucks. But good thing is there's a lot of up and comers that are coming out, and that have been fighting since they've been 6 years old, Mike. And that's what's crazy is this new generation of MMA fighter is insane, and we've got top notch fighters to look out for, but it's bittersweet to see these quote unquote old guys retire.
Yeah, and speaking of new guys, we've got a rivalry ourselves, I guess, because I'm a big fan of Chris Weidman. He's one of my new guys, and I know you're a Rockhold fan, so there's
Oh,
always
yeah.
gonna be guys we're gonna hold on to for sure. Um, Derek Lewis now he's fighting Marcin Tybura. Jay, do you know who Tybura was?
No,
I
no. I don't know the name, don't recognize it, but I do know Derek Lewis, the Beast. That guy is a beast. I think he's going to win this fight KO.
Yeah, Tybura is 14-2 with 6 KO TKOs and 6 submissions, so he finishes it, fairly evenly, and that's 12 finishes and 14 wins. So he's 1-1 in the UFC. Just got a KO in his last fight, so he's now 500. Derek Lewis, like you said, he's a beast. They call him the Black Beast for a reason. I mean, he's just a bad dude. I'm interested though because the submission aspect to Tybura. If it hits the ground, how much of a problem is Lewis going to be in? Now, obviously, the ground was hit with Lewis with Big Country, and he was able to survive that. Got the win, controversially, but he got the win. So I think if he can get out of Big Country's grasp, I think that Lewis can get out of Marcin Tybura's grasp.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Derek Lewis. I'm with you on there. I'm going to go KO. I want to go round 1. But
yeah, me
I have
too.
a tough time doing round 1, so I'm going to go round 2.
I'm going round 1. I think he's that good.
Gotcha. I'm going to go round 2, so you're a little more specific to that. And the last fight we're going to talk about, Sam Alvey versus Alex Nicholson. If you guys don't know Sam Alvey, smiling Sam Alvey, as soon as you see him smile, you'll know who he is. Alvey is 28-8, won no contest with 18 KO TKOs and 3 submissions. Great knockout fighter. Won his last 2 by KO TKO. And submission after losing 2 before that, so he's getting back on a roll now after losing 2 in a row, and finishing guys. Alex Nicholson, I didn't know who that was. Had to look him up for sure. Nicholson 7-2 with 6 KO TKOs and 1 submission, and he's 1-1 in his UFC career, and he just got a KO in his last fight, just like Tybura did. I'm going to go with Alvey here. Alvey's feeling it. Alvey usually doesn't lose 2 in a row, but when he starts winning, he usually goes on a pretty good streak. If you look at his streak in the NFC when he won the belt there, I realize that's the NFC. It's not the UFC. But even in the UFC, he doesn't have a lot of losses in a row, and usually puts more than a few together. So I'm going to go with Alvey here. I'm going to go by knockout. Knockout.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and be bold here, Jay, with your round 1 with Lewis. I'll steal your round 1 pick from Lewis and put it on Sam Alvey.
All right, that's a good pick. I'm going with our friend of the show, Sam Alvey. We've interviewed him before. If you guys haven't heard that, go back into the archives, listen to the interview. Great interview, great guy, great family man, great MMA fighter. I really like Sam, so I'm going Sam Alvey round 1 too.
Awesome. Okay. Well, Jay, the only thing we have left now is our Fire of the Month. It's October now, so we've got September is just finishing up.
Fighter of the Month.
It was kind of easy, but kind of hard because there wasn't a lot of things to choose from.
Oh, it was hard. It was hard.
That?
It was hard because it's been a lackluster month.
Well, right, because I listed a few names, but then it all just came down to this one. For me, Fire of the Month for September was Misha Tate. She carried the little girl with a broken arm 2 miles while out hiking to safety. So, I mean, that alone, you've got my pick. So, what are you thinking?
I like that pick. Now that I think about it, I like it. But unfortunately, I didn't get carried down the mountain. But I didn't think about that. But I went with the guy who knocked out Alistair Overeem, Stipe Miocic. I went with him for the Fighter of the Month here for September, just because he's in a division that's been lackluster for so long, and he's finally bringing that division up, and he's bringing more eyeballs to the division and the sport. So he's a great champ, and he is my fighter.
I agree with all that, man. It's a solid pick. He's a solid fighter, a great fighter, and I can't wait to see him in his next fight, whoever he's going to fight. Because remember, they don't defend the belt more than twice. This will be his second defense.
Exactly.
If he can get past his second defense, he's probably going to fight Kane. So if he beats Kane, man, that's going to be
huge.
Just amazing.
Yeah. So solid Fighter of the Month picks, and That aside, we will end the show here, Mike. But before we go, of course, everybody follow our Facebook page, Mike. Mike, you want to say a little bit about your Facebook page?
Yeah, Facebook page. We just I've been writing every day still on that. Just put up the fight week preview for what we talked about today. But that's really for if you're listening to the podcast, you're doing enough. You don't really have to take a look at that.
Oh, no. But there's great articles you're writing there. If you guys haven't visited the Facebook page, even though you listen to this show, read those articles. Mike is writing great articles on these, MMA stories or fight cards and everything. He's got a lot of good stuff up there that adds to the show. It really does. So take a look at that.
Oh, thanks, Jay. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I was just going to say is that if you're listening to the podcast for what Jay and I are talking about when we're picking fights, that's got both Jay and I's thoughts on it. Whereas when I'm doing the fight week preview for on Mondays, it's a little more in depth with just a little more stats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I do put my best into it, Jay, so I appreciate that. Yeah, and like Jay said, I'm writing every day and I'm doing the best I can. All the released stuff that's coming out. I love doing it. It's something I like to do if I could at some point to get paid for it. But until then, I'm going to do it for free because I have fun doing it. And I love doing the podcast with Jay. So
yeah. And also, you guys, you can reach us at mmathinktank@gmail.com or call us at 925-237-1296. Leave us a message. Tell us what you think about any of the topics that we've discussed or about our show. That'd be fine. Anyway, Mike, that's it for this week, and we will see each other in 2 more.
All right, everybody have a good one.